So we are at the grave of John Barclay Armstrong. He was a Texas Ranger, and I have selected this grave both for aesthetic reasons and because there's just a fascinating story behind his life, and I think we just should take a second to delve into history because that's just going to make this more fun, I think. Okay, so John Barclay Armstrong was a Texas Ranger. And in case you're not familiar with the Texas Rangers, they were formed in the early 1800s to protect against Indian attacks and just Mexican bandits and just general outlaws on the frontier because the population was very sparse at that time. In the late 1800s is when John Barclay Armstrong was a Texas Ranger. And at that time, it was post-Reconstruction after the Civil War. There was general lawlessness in South Texas. And he was part of a group of Rangers that kind of restored order to the area. And Armstrong's most notable capture is that of John Wesley Hardin. And Hardin was your classic bad guy, outlaw, Wild West, in saloons, getting in trouble with gunfights in saloons over card games, and just textbook Wild West. He killed a deputy sheriff, and that is what put Armstrong on his tail. The first time Armstrong captured Hardin escaped. And then a couple years later, Armstrong was back on the trail, okay? And now I'm gonna read something to you. Recuperating from a gunshot wound and walking with a cane, Armstrong still applied to be on the case to find Hardin. Detective John Duncan was assigned to work with him. Learning of Hardin's whereabouts in Alabama, Armstrong got a warrant for him, and with Duncan, they went in pursuit. Hardin's gang had been menacing the railroad, and the railroad was happy to assist the Ranger in any way possible to capture the outlaw. Tracking Hardin to Florida, the Ranger enlisted the aid of local lawmen in Pensacola to assist them in the capture. When the train carrying Hardin came into the station, Armstrong entered the front of the coach. Switching his cane to his left hand, he drew his Colt 45 with his right and confronted Hardin and the 4 members of his gang. One of the men drew and shot at Armstrong, who returned the fire, killing the man. Hardin's gun had hung up on his suspenders, allowing the Ranger time to hit Hardin over the head, knocking him unconscious. He unarmed the other 3 men. And then returning to Alabama, Armstrong waited the extradition papers and returned Hardin to Texas. How awesome is that? I'm loving this. This is the kind of stuff I live for. So this is what I'm gonna be painting, all right? This is really, really cool. I mean, the story was fascinating. And I think the whole look of this is perfection. Here's the dresser that I will be transforming and making over to be graveyard chic in the style of John Barclay Armstrong's grave. And I think this is gonna turn out great. I mean, look at this. This even kind of reminds me of the cross and all of the stuff that was at the gravesite. Oh, it's so great.